Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy Kenny, and this is Oprah's Masterclass Season 6, and this episode is about Lynn Whitfield. Man, this was a really great episode of Oprah's Masterclass because Lynn Whitfield is such a great actress, but also a great human being. I mean, she just exudes greatness, and she exudes, passion. Even as of right now, she is getting great praise and notoriety for her role as Lady Mae Greenleaf on the show Greenleaf, and we're still seeing that even now Lynn has it, but she's even gotten better with time. I mean, she's like a vintage wine; she gets better with age, and we've definitely known her from her Emmy Award-winning performance as Josephine Baker in the Josephine Baker Story. We've known her from the Women of Brewster's Place, Eve's Bayou, Thin Line Between Love and Hate. You can just name some of her films and, TV appearances that she's been in. And she is just one of those actresses that commands the stage, and she owns the roles that she plays. And she's just a remarkable woman, and I'm glad that they finally did an episode on her. So, pretty much how I'm going to do this is I'm going to definitely focus on the points that she makes within her story and within how she has taken, certain situations that she has faced and actually has turned them into a success, as far as her life and her career. The first point they make is discover your passion. Lynn Whitfield is from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and once I found that out, I was wondering. So I can definitely see that now. Definitely, she also talks about she would make journeys to New Orleans and would spend a lot of time in the French Quarter. So therefore, she was able to kind of create that world, where she can, be like a Lady Greenleaf or Josephine Baker or a Mae Baptiste, from Eve's Bayou. Like, she knows, this type of environment. She kind of knows the language and knows the culture and knows the architecture. I mean, she embodied all of that, and you kind of see that in some of the roles she plays. That, yeah, she, especially like with Josephine Baker, being in the French Quarters. I mean, she kind of, began to soak up all of this greatness that she was around. But she also talks about her upbringing. She pretty much grew up in a community of well-to-do African Americans, doctors, lawyers, teachers. So she kind of grew up around black people who were dedicated to making accomplishments, not just for themselves, but for their race and for their communities. So she pretty much grew up with this entitlement that she had to accomplish something and that she had to be somebody. And like her father was a dentist, and her mother was gorgeous. Her mother was, beautiful, and she says, her mother was all about making sure that her appearance was on point. And she even joked about it. She's like, I am my mother's child, because you see how my hair is laid, and make sure all the hair is laying down and that everything is right. She's like, yeah, I get that from my mother. So I thought that was really cute. But she definitely goes into the fact that her family was kind of like a Camelot, kind of reminiscent of the Kennedys. They were like the Black Kennedys. They were a well-to-do black family. They were loved by their community. They were loved by their friends and family. And then all of that but she said that was the image that was portrayed. But she said growing up, she would hear like there was a lot of dissonance between her parents, as far as infighting and things like that. And when she was 15 years old, her parents divorced. And she pretty much says that, that was like a very unsettling time for her, because, her mother moved out, and, her mother moved out, and they moved in with her aunt. And she just said that a lot of that during that time, she really just went through a lot of, anxiety, depression, and, just, feeling unsettled. The comfort that she once had, being a part of a family, she no longer had, because now that her parents were divorced, everything changed. It's like the Camelot life that she grew up in was literally ripped from under her. And she talks about that challenge, and she talks about that, her mother ends up going, I think she went to like a fashion school in New York, and her father got custody of them, and her father, got her a car, because now since she was the eldest, she pretty much had to help out her younger siblings. But she said that she would take journeys to New Orleans, like 2 or 3 times a week, because she's originally from Baton Rouge, and New Orleans is literally like right next door. So, and she said that she would spend a lot of time in New Orleans, and that's when she kind of developed her dream world, being around the French Quarter, learning the culture, and, soaking in all of this, vast knowledge, that she would actually apply to her life in her later years. But she said that it was at the age of 7 that she really said to herself that she wanted to be an actress, because she said that when she was a little girl, her grandmother used to kind of like would sneak her and to let her watch the $1 Million Movie, and it came on late at night. But when she would watch these movies, she was watching some of the greats like Dorothy Dandridge, Ruby Dee, Betty Davis, and she saw, how these, she saw how these beautiful, intelligent, and sultry women were commanding the stage and commanding the scene. And she said that she wanted to be an actress at the age of 7. When she was 7 years old, she said, I want to be an actress. She said that I didn't know what I had to do, but I knew I had to do it. And that was a part of discovering her passion. She knew what her passion was, and that's what she wanted to make into her life's work and her life's journey. So I definitely admire that about her. Another thing that she had mentioned was, another point that they made in this episode was find your tribe. And that's something I have to work on for myself. And I think I'm starting to do that myself as well. But she actually is a graduate from Howard University here in Washington, D.C. I've even been on the campus a few times and even talked to some of the people in the music department. It's something about Howard, when you step on that campus, it's just like, you feel like there's like this greatness that just kind of overcomes you, because you're surrounded by just black greatness, black intellectuals, black excellence. When you walk through the halls, of like the Fine Arts building, you just kind of get this feeling like, wow, I'm walking the same halls that Donny Hathaway and Roberta Flack, Lynn Whitfield, Angela Winbush, Felicia Rashad, and Debbie Allen. I'm walking, within these walls that they themselves used to walk in as students. It definitely gives you that type of uplift and that type of courageousness, and for me it did. For me it gave me like this sense of like, wow, here I am surrounded, in a place where, some of the great artists of our time, this is where they hone their talents and hone their gifts. And Lynn Whitfield was a part of that. And she says that within that she found her tribe. She found people, she was around a community of people who loved the things she loved, that were passionate about their art and their talent just as she was. And she said it was kind of like a Renaissance time when she was there. They were trying new things. They were experimenting, exploring, just like a pool of just having fun with art and having fun, with exploring your talent and, finding your aesthetic, finding what makes you you. And you know, and she said that she really learned a lot, you know, within Howard, and, you know, being around that community just did nothing but fuel her ambition and fuel her strength to further live her passion and pursue her dream and pursue her career as an actress. Another point that they make is do the hustle. She talks about after she graduates, she moves to New York, you know, to pursue her career as an actress, and she learns that it's no cakewalk and it's not for the faint of heart, because she realized that because she talks about when she was auditioning for an Alpo commercial, you know, a dog food commercial, you know, she pretty much had the wig and the plaid shirt, and she said her line, and then once she left, she saw that there were 12 women dressed just like her waiting to get in. So now she realizes that, you know, what she was experiencing in Harvard was one thing, but now you're in the real world, and in the real world, it's a fight. It's a real fight, and you got to do the work, and you got to do the hustle. And she said that she went from commercial to commercial, audition after audition after audition. Sometimes she would land some opportunities, and there were times where it would be a gap, she didn't land anything. And, you know, she said that, you know, she really, sorry about that, she pretty much said that, you know, at this time, you know, she realized that the hustle was real, that at times being an artist can be daunting, you know, it can get hard, it can sometimes tear you apart, you know, it can really get to you. But then, after a while, she realized that she needed to still do the hustle, but she needed to change her environment, so she decided to go to Los Angeles. And another point they make in this episode is work till you get it. And that's very profound, even for myself, you know, a person who's trying to be an artist in my own right. You know, you have to do the work, and you have to constantly work and work and work until you strike. You know, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen immediately, and it's not going to always come when you want it. But it will come right on time if you continue to do the work and you continue to build. You know, you continue to build, you continue to grow, and you continue to plow your field. Which is a part of who you are. And she actually talks about a role that she had in 1979 in this film. I think it was a film called Dear Detective. And, you know, in this film, you know, I think she had a role of a secretary, and she said she was so nervous because this was her first time really being on a set, you know, an actual film set. You know, you got, you know, everyone talking, you got the director, and, you know, pretty much making sure everybody's in place. And she said that she messed up a lot, and because she said she was so nervous because she was now in the gulf of her career. You know, now she's really doing it. She's now pretty much she's now actually doing the actual work being in a film. And she said that she walked into the table, and then she actually made her mark and walked to the desk, and she didn't remember her lines. She's like, she could not remember her lines. And she said that the director was very good with her. And I can now just say she was lucky, because sometimes you get directors who are very brutal when you don't land your mark. But he was very patient with her. But then she realized that this was a new world from theater, because, you know, she did a lot of theater in Howard, but now this is the movies. You know, this is a totally different field. It's a totally different world. And she said that, you know, within this process, she learned how to build her confidence, and that she had to continue to work on her craft and pretty much work on her self-esteem. And she ends up landing her first major role in the movie Dr. Detroit, where she plays a prostitute. I've never seen this movie, but she looked gorgeous on screen. But Fran Drescher was another prostitute who was also in the movie, and, you know, it was actually one of her first roles that she, you know, and it was a major motion picture, and she got a She even got some notoriety from it, and she even said when she talked to her mom, and she let her mother know that she has a role in a motion picture. She says that I play a whore. Well, she says, honey, well, be the best whore you can be and be glamorous. I was like, see, that's mother's love right there. Mama had her back, and that was cool. And then another point they make is make the role yours. Whatever you take, whatever career or whatever thing that you choose to do, you have to make it yours. You have to claim it, and you have to own it. And she uses this reference when talking about her auditioning for the Josephine Baker story. She wanted to make it her own. She wanted that role, and she talks about she worked with Michael Peters, and Michael Peters is, God rest his soul. I mean, he was one of the best choreographers that ever lived. I mean, he has worked with, he was the choreographer for Dreamgirls. And he also was one of the choreographers for Michael Jackson, the Beat It video, as well as Bad, and he also was the choreographer for What's Love Got to Do with It, with Lawrence Fishburne and Angela Bassett. I mean, this guy he was the man when it came down to rhythm and movement. I mean, he was one of the great pioneers of choreography and dance. And she actually collaborated with him and decided to do something different, instead of just having just a video where she's introducing herself. She actually embodied Josephine Baker. And when they actually showed her audition tape, and she's in the costumes and she's dancing and she's exuding, the essence of who Josephine Baker was, I looked at that and I was like, oh, she got this. This is hers, because she made it her own. And it was beautiful to see that. But even though that was true, that's not how it happened, because she talked about how she went through 7 months of auditioning. Brian Gibson was the director of the project, and after the 7 months, they pretty much didn't choose her. They were going to do 2 actresses, one that would play Josephine in her early years, and one who would play her in her later years. And the 2 that they had chosen at the time was Irene Cara and Diane Carroll. And she said she was really sad. She said that she went to this bar in Los Angeles from early in the morning to the wee hours in the evening, just drinking wine and crying her eyes out, because she really wanted that role. And then she went home and she had all these books and things that she was working on, developing the part. She started putting these books in cabinets and just kind of just had a fit. But then something told her to put the books back. And then 4 months later, she gets a call from her agent saying that they wanna see her again. Well, she said that, look, I'm not going through this crap again with all these months of auditions and all of that. I can't go through that anymore. So we can find a mutual place, we can do that. So they set up a screen test with her, and it went on from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., and by Monday, she got a call that she had got the part. And pretty much that was in 1991 where Josephine Baker's story came out, and the movie was a smash, and it really, it actually, not only broadened her horizons, but it even introduced Josephine Baker to a people of my generation who probably never heard of her. So Lynn Whitfield owned that role of Josephine Baker, and she actually won the Emmy for Best Actress for that role, and Brian Gibson, the director, won Best Director. And she talks about her and Brian Gibson as having this great artistic marriage, and within the project they became very close, and eventually they fell in love and got married, and they had a daughter, Grace. But then later on she learns that, and another point she makes in this is let it be a gift. And this is in reference to her daughter, because she got pregnant literally right around the time the Josephine Baker story was a hit. And she won an Emmy, I think, a little bit after she had her daughter Grace. And she said that, was thinking like, oh my God, I can't be pregnant right now. This is going to mess up my career, and this is going to slow me down. Am I ready to be a mother? And she kind of went through that process. And she said that sometimes the thing that you think is a mistake is actually a gift in disguise. So, and she said that she wouldn't know where she would be if she didn't have her daughter. And she says her daughter is a true blessing to her. And then, pretty much within this process, her having her marriage, her career as well as motherhood all into one, she pretty much said that due to that process, her marriage had eventually suffered, and her and Brian Gibson ended up divorcing, and we come to find out later on that he actually had passed away from cancer. But, she realized that she had to be all that she could be and actually, be there for her daughter, openly, be there for her daughter and actually encourage her daughter to be the best woman and be the best person that she can be. Because she said, I constantly affirmed her. I constantly let her know how great she was. I constantly let her know that I will always be there for her. So I thought that was beautiful. And another thing that she stresses is have faith. And she says throughout her situation, with her marriage falling apart, this was going on during the Rodney King riots. LA was falling apart and her marriage was falling apart at the same time. And it was around this time that she decided to get back in the church. And she began the process of rebuilding her faith and knowing that God is always with you and that God is always there and He's never far away. And she began to have that experience. And another point that they make in this is decide to do it differently. And what she means by that is that she didn't want to get caught up into that she had to constantly be a certain way, to get a role. That, she can actually exude some of those things within herself, her femininity, her sensualness, her sexiness, her vivaciousness, all of those things she had within inside of her. That's something that a director or a producer can't put into you. You have to exude that. You have to breathe that. You have to live that. And she said that she decided that, she was going to, not only do things differently as far as her career, but also do things differently as far as how she was going to raise her daughter. And constantly let her daughter know that she can be the best that she can be within anything she decides to do. So I thought that was very profound. And also another point she makes is hold on to yourself, because that's a very good point, because sometimes you can get into the realm of entertainment, into the realm of success, and you can lose yourself. You can lose yourself in the career. You can lose yourself into the glitz and the glam, into the accesses that comes with fame and fortune. You can kind of get lost in that, or just success in other realms. You can get lost in it. And she said that she pretty much said that I vow to hold on to myself, of who I am, because she talks about how the Hollywood thing is like you start out as an ingenue, then you're kind of like the cat's meow, and then you're kind of the mother, then you play the grandmother, and then eventually you fade away. She said that I can still be the sexy one. I can still be the vivacious one, the sexy one, because it's a part of who I am. And she says you have to own those things. They're not just roles you play. They have to be a part of you. They have to be parts of you that you can bring to the surface. And I thought that was very profound, because in her role as Lady May, Lady May is very, is very beautiful, very vivacious. She still got her sexy on, even though she's a grandmother. She's a sexy grandma, and she definitely does not let age slow her down, because she is like vintage wine, and she, as I said, gets better with age. Hello. And she actually talks about, her role, and that she loves the role of Lady Greenleaf because it actually embodies, her in a way, like, that she has all of these great qualities, and she can actually bring them to the surface. And you know, you can kind of see that with Lady Greenleaf, because now in season 2 we're seeing some other sides of Lady Greenleaf that we didn't see before in season 1. So I thought that was really great. But one thing that really also stuck out to me too, and also another point that they make, which was the last point, is be a work in progress. Always never get comfortable with anything. Always be working to perfect and progress who you are and what you're about, especially when it comes down to your work and to your craft and to your passion. Always be learning, be wanting to learn and grow and do better. And that, I think, is something that she even says that she constantly works, and she constantly is driving towards being better and, you know, and growing into, no wonder why I'm sweating. I got this, my fan was turned the other way. Sorry, y'all. But hey, y'all my fam, so I got you. But yeah, she talked about, you know, when you're a work in progress, you learn new things about yourself. You learn new things about your ability, about your, you know, abilities, and, you know, you actually find new things that you can apply. So always be a work in progress. And one thing I definitely want to do, how I want to end this, is that I want to read this poem that she said that she had shared this poem with Ruby Dee, and Ruby Dee loved it because Ruby Dee was like her idol. She was somebody that she looked up to, and she said she wanted to be like Ruby Dee, and she learned a lot from her. But she said this poem that she read to Ruby Dee, and Ruby Dee loved it because it's really about affirming yourself, and I want to share this with you guys. Today is ours. Let's live it. Love is strong, let's give it. A song can help, let's sing it. Peace is dear, let's bring it. The past is gone, don't rue it. Our work is here, let's do it. The world is wrong, let's right it. The battle is hard, let's fight it. The road is rough, let's clear it. The future's vast, don't fear it. Is faith asleep? Let's wake it. Because today is ours. Let's take it. So that's my review, guys. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments, or if you have any comments, please put them, or commentary to the episode, please put them down. I'd definitely like to hear your thoughts. But subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And I will be back with the next episode of Oprah's Masterclass. So until then, everybody, take care.